So hello guys and welcome to Car Blog India. This is your host Tarun and here we have the new Audi Q2 with us, the most affordable car from Audi in the Indian market right now. It's actually a very compact SUV. It measures just about 4.3 meters long. That makes it as equivalent as to size of Creta and Kia Seltos. So yes, it's even smaller than the Audi Q3 but more powerful than the Q3 that we had until a couple of months earlier. So in this video I'll be telling you all about this car, all the features, highlight and how is it to drive, whether it follows the same Audi language that's basically great on performance and also great on comfort. So let's get started with this video and stay tuned till the end of this review to know about this car. First, let's talk about how it actually looks. Well, it matters to different people. It's how different other people look. However, I can say that I personally liked the styling of the SUV. It feels sportier even than the Q3 because of its compact dimensions and it's very flashy edges. I would say very muscular edges, nice creases all over the body. As you can see here, it also gets this body cladding, but all of them are with the color of the entire body, that's red basically. So on the front you get this nice mesh grille over here which is quite huge, and four vents in the bumper. Sort of this becomes the bumper kit, acts like a bumper kit. It has skid plates as well and no fog lamps over here, just some vents as well. Here are the four rings and this is the sign for quattro, that means it gets all-wheel drive. Further coming here, it gets full LED headlamps with LED DRLs and indicators integrated inside it itself. On the side it gets these very simple but gorgeous looking alloy wheels that are 17-inch alloy wheels. Now coming at the back, you get these nice big chunky tail lamps over here, and these are not LED tail lamps. However, these do get a different style of lighting. It's a sort of T-shaped lighting. Here's the 40 TFSI badging. TFSI, that means it's a petrol engine or it does not offer a diesel engine anymore on its cars. And again the quattro drive. Here are the four rings again. Here's an integrated rear spoiler, which a lot of might say does not look like one. However, Audi's brochure does say it. And then there's a shark fin antenna. Here's the Q2 branding. At the back you get these dual port exhaust muffler. Stepping inside the cabin of the Audi Q2, here's how the cabin looks. It does not get electrical adjustment for the seats. This is for basically increasing and decreasing the height. Then through this you can push it forward, pull it back, and this is for adjusting the recline. First impressions say that there's nothing flashy to be found inside. Everything's very well prepared, neat, not at all cluttered, and still maintaining the sporty bits, the sporty element of the Q2. First, starting from here, it gets the virtual cockpit, Audi's virtual cockpit. However, you won't get this on the base standard variant. This only comes on the top end variant and the mid spec variant as well. It gets a three spoke flat bottom steering wheel again, which comes only on the high end variants. Further, here's the horn in between, and here are the buttons for your audio and your music and telephone. On the left, you have the buttons for changing the view of the speedometer, of the MID, and the overall instrument cluster. On the left, you have the typical European thing, uh, lights on the left, then wiper controls on the right, and cruise control button over here. Then it also gets paddle shifters as standard fitment. However, the cruise control is available only on the mid-spec and the top-end variant, not even on the variant just below this technology variant. Now coming on to the virtual cockpit. It's the same virtual cockpit, Audi's cockpit, that you get on the bigger models on the A6 as well. And here you can change the view of this cockpit over here. And this is for changing, if you, for example, if you have chosen this trip meter overview of the trip meter, then you can also toggle between the short-term memory, date and time, long-term memory, and energy consuming as well. Then these are two options to change the view. In this one, you will be getting the engine temperature, very small speedometer, very small tachometer as well, the fuel reading, the instantaneous fuel reading, and other information as well. But it's better you switch on to this mode itself, because you will still get a lot of information. Further, coming on to this side, it gets settings for automatic headlamps. As you can see here, these are for all weather headlamps. So basically, if you have switched these on, it will adapt as per your weather conditions. If it, for example, if the car senses that it's raining, it will automatically switch on the headlamps. And further, these are buttons for the lock and unlock. All on this Audi Q2, you get these circular air vents, two over here, one over there, and to close this you have to just rotate it. So now it has been switched on. You can adjust this as per as you want, and then the AC vents are off. It gets an infotainment system which does not support touchscreen. It's operated by these toggle buttons and this rotary dial. This rotary dial is the standard feature found in all the Audi cars. However, they come with touchscreen as well. This one can be operated only from here. So yes, a premium car missing out on a touchscreen infotainment has to be something big. However, this particular arrangement is not so easy to operate. You will definitely take some time getting used to it while driving. And further, it gets these buttons over here as well. This is for switching the infotainment on and off, and this is for traction control, for the stabilization control. Now it has been switched on. This is for your parking light, this is for your drive monitors. So basically, this is the rear camera of the Audi Q2. It gets only a rear camera. However, it also gets these front and rear parking sensors. So these can also be operated when you are moving in slow speeds less than 10 kilometers per hour. They'll automatically start functioning and let you know if there's anything nearby your car. Nothing on the side, only on the front and at the back. Here is the button for switching the automatic start stop system. So now it has been deactivated and now I've activated it again. Here's the button for the drive select, and you can just change it with this as well. So right now we are keeping it at auto, so you have auto over here as well. Again, I'm keeping now it on efficiency, so you have it over here. Lastly, it also gets efficiency, comfort, auto, and dynamic mode. Dynamic mode is basically the sport mode, the name that Audi gives it. The quality of the materials used inside feels very good, feels very nice, very premium. And if you see that it follows an all black interior styling, black dashboard, black panels over here. However, here it gets these carbon fiber detailing done which is seamless, flows right from the left to the right, and here's a backlight written with Quattro over here. It gets fully automatic air conditioning with dual zone climate control. So for the front passenger, it's 21.5 degrees set, and for me, the driver, it's set 22 degrees. You get automatic ACs. For switching it on and off, you to press this button. And further, it gets a USB charger over here, which connects to the infotainment system, a 12-volt socket, two cup holders over here. There's no cigarette lighter present, and for the engine start stop button, and this is the rotary dial for switching on the radio or media, basically playing songs and changing on to the next track, increasing the volume as well. This is the gearbox of the Audi Q2. It's different looking than what we saw on the A6 earlier that we drove, and feels very good, feels very sporty. There's matte black finishing over here, and below there's a brushed silver finishing. Looks very fantastic. It gets a 7-speed automatic gearbox with sport mode and manual mode as well. So now if you see, it's on parking mode, and I've put it on S, that means sport. If I do this again, it will go on down again, S, and if I have to put it on manual mode, then just do it, swing it to your left, and you will get M, and again to your automatic mode. Then, as I told you earlier, this is for operating the infotainment system, and here's the electronic parking brake. Further, you get this phone box, what Audi calls, inside the center armrest. It basically supports wireless charging over here. You can place your key here, and it also gets aux connection and another USB charging socket over here. Then if you see, it also gets a sunroof. It's not panoramic, it's just a normal electric sunroof over here. Moving on towards the back seat, well, it's just 4.3 meters long, and as per the dimensions, this arrangement over here feels adequate for a person sitting at the back. However, that is not at all right. As you can see, there's literally no space to be seated over there. You'll just have to fold your legs, cross your legs, and sit upstairs, or just ask the front passenger to move his chair ahead. And you can see this particular portion over here is quite protruding, so definitely a person cannot feel comfortable when he's seated in between. Of course, there's the tunnel also, which adds to the discomfort. So yes, this car is adequate for 2 people and not for 3 people. However, Audi has given a headrest just in case anyone needs to be seated in between. So now, if you can see, I have adequate space over here. The knee space is just about right. It's actually more than right. It's quite adequate for a person who is about 5'8", and as you can see, my legs can also go under the seat. So yes, I am comfortable at the back in terms of knee space. Under thigh support is just about all right. As you can see here, there's a little bit space remaining. However, it shouldn't be that much of a problem. One thing that I found over here is that these seats are way too upright, and definitely you'll have to put your legs down, otherwise you won't feel that comfortable. See, the angle is very upright over here. The headspace is just about right, and there's no complaint regarding the headspace. Overall, yes, this car can seat 4 people at the back, however, not too comfortably, not for some long distance cruising. There's no AC vent at the back. Instead, you get this 2 C-type USB charger and a 12-volt socket. Yes, the boot space is another thing that we all want to see. Here, you can see it's not that much. However, it can fit some about 2 big suitcases inside easily and a couple of baggage. However, one thing that you see over here, it has a flat boot over here. The lip is flat, and that will also help in loading and unloading of the luggage. So now that we have told you all about its highlights, all the features, the seating space, now let's get on to the driving part and see how well it performs. If it's an Audi, if it's the TFSI engine, maybe we should start first with the performance and not waste time on other things. Because that's what the engine, that's what the car, and that's what the brand aims at majorly. So the first thing that you should know is that it gets a 2-liter TSI engine 4-cylinder turbo petrol, which produces 190 PS and 320 Newton meters of peak torque. If you have to compare it with the discontinued Q3, then the latter got a 1.4 TFSI and the power figures were considerably a lot lower than the Q2. So basically, if you have to compare it with the Q3, the Q2 is more compact and has a more powerful engine, so definitely a better driver in terms. However, the new generation Q3 is also expected to arrive to the Indian shows by next year, so that's when all the upgrades will happen. So for the existing Q3 owners, if they drive the Q2, they'll definitely feel a lot better in terms of performance. As I told you, it is just 4.3 meters long. The dimensions are quite compact and the wheelbase is just about 2.5 meters long. Q2 is very nice to drive, has a very punchy engine, it's quite peppy. Of course, there's the pushback effect felt inside the Audi Q2, and if you have to ask me, the A6 didn't have that much pushback effect in comparison to the Q2. So yes, Q2 has to be one of the best performance oriented cars in budget, definitely, from Audi. The gearbox is very well mated, very well paired to the engine, and it's like too many praises are even less for this gearbox. That's how good it is. There's no gear shifting lag found at all. Jerks are very minimal. Of course, if you go in the sport mode, that's when you will feel that the gearbox is a bit over enthusiastic, a bit jerky. However, besides that, in the other modes, you won't find any complaints with the gearbox. Like even if I decide to go flat out now, I am on the 4th gear. The RPM is just about 1500 RPM, and I am at the speed of 33 kilometers per hour. And if I decide to go flat out, I can see that there's just a lag of a second or a two when the gears came down to the 2nd gear and it started to increase its speed. One thing that you'll find interesting is that if the RPM level is above 2000, you decide to go flat out, then the gears won't shift down and it will continue from that level itself. So basically, if you move on to the aggressive driving, your RPM should be about 2000, otherwise the gears will start coming down. Plus, you also have the paddle shifters, you have the sport mode, you have the manual mode, so a lot of things you have. So in the sport mode, basically the S mode, the gears hold on a bit longer than what you would then usually Right now the gears change at about 2000 rpm, 1750 to 2000 rpm, but if you activate the sport mode, uh, the gears will hold on to about 2500 rpm, and if you then switch on to the dynamic mode, then it will go up to 3000 4500 rpm easily. You can actually move further that also if you literally have the pedal pressed to the metal. And I would say the paddle shifters are not required that much, because even besides that, the performance is quite amazing. Performance is very enthusiastic. So yes, and manual mode, just I would say frankly, is not at of use, because if you feel the need for some manual gear intervention, then paddle shifters are a better choice. Further, moving towards the handling, yes, I forgot. Sorry, this has to be the best thing. The steering wheel is so direct, so crispy, so very well in terms of handling that even if you just take a slight turn, the car will automatically start moving its directions, even with slightest of rotation of the steering wheel. Well, if you are in the sport mode, then the feedback of the steering wheel gets better. It gets a bit more lighter, and that's when things start to go haywire in a positive way, not in a negative way, not at all. The performance, the paddle shifters and the steering wheel, all this gel well together, and it sort of makes it like a mini sports car, I would say, a crossover sports car or an SUV sports car, whatever you want to say. But yes, if you have to get the perfect driving experience of the Audi Q2, you have to experience the perfect adrenaline rush, the punchiness of the TFSI engine, it's better to use the dynamic mode, the paddle shifters, and steering wheel feedback will then improve. You'll just love how it bends into the corners very easily, very enthusiastically, sort of puts you in a very good spot and gives you a wide grin while driving. Further, now I've been talking about the modes, drive modes, so I'll let you know about that also. A typical Audi, it gets the comfort, auto, efficiency and dynamic driving modes. So in the comfort mode, the steering wheel is found to be the lightest, and the in-gear shifting jerks are also to be found the most minimal. It's basically a comfortable ride. There's no changes in the suspension done. It's just the whole driving experience is a bit more comfortable. And also in the efficiency mode, the responses are lethargic. The acceleration is actually a bit more lethargic than you would expect, and that's why in efficiency mode there's no driving fun. Yes, if you again decide to go flat out, you'll feel the difference. However, efficiency mode is just for increasing the fuel economy. Lastly, there's sport mode, the dynamic mode as Audi calls it, which has the best experience of them. Further talking about the suspension setup, it's European definitely. So if you are going on normal roads or your regular city roads where there is very few potholes, not that big ones, you'll be comfortable. It won't hurt you that much. If you are going at high speeds and the size and density of the potholes increases, then you will feel some discomfort. However, not much to worry about, because most of the time you won't be feeling that much from the setup. The ride remains very well planted, very stable on when you're going at high speeds above triple digit speeds. So that's where you are far more beneficial. As I told you earlier, it gets the Quattro all-wheel drive. No, you can't use it for off-roading. That's not where all-wheel drive comes in power. However, definitely that improves the grip of the tires, that improves the traction, and since the power is sent to all the wheels, all the four wheels, that also improves a bit on the driving part. Lastly, talking about the brakes, a typical Audi here again, it's the bite of the brake is very well, quite good, quite assuring, and with just hint of pedal press, the feedback starts coming as soon as possible. So now coming on to the final verdict of the Audi Q2, whether it makes a sensible purchase, should you prefer it over competitors in this price range from other premium car makers, or should you wait for the Audi Q3, which is going to arrive next year? Well, for starters, there's no direct competition to the Audi Q2. It's currently the most affordable, the entry level premium SUV that you get. If you have to look in the same price range, you can probably also look at the BMW 2GC, the 2 Series Grand Coupe, which is a sedan, so there's a completely different shape and form. However, that's the only thing that comes in the same price range. Mercedes had the A-Class, the GLA earlier, which have now been discontinued. However, the A-Class sedan and the GLA are also expected to be launched in India very soon. So there's a lots of hustle going to happen very soon in the entry-level premium category. Now, since this comes as a CBU, a completely imported model, so its prices are costly. It starts from 35 lakhs going up to 49 lakhs ex-showroom for the top-end variant, the technology variant that we have today. The base variant definitely misses out on a lot of features, so it makes sense to either go for the mid-spec or probably the one below the top-end variant. However, even that is a pricey affair. So yes, it somewhat makes sense for people to wait for the Q3 also. However, specifically about the Q2, well, it's a very good car to drive, but I would say more fun to drive than the earlier Q3 that we have. So it mainly focuses on the driving part, focuses on the performance part, handling. That's where it does not compromise, although it could be offered with a bit more features and nothing else has to complain of. It's a very small car. Probably you might consider it as a crossover. Its punchy engine, its punchy motor is definitely going to keep you on the edge all the time. So, as per me, as per our views, the Audi Q2 makes a sensible purchase if you are on a budget. If you want an Audi, if you don't care about the Q3 or the A3 or the A4 that's going to come next year, then Q2 is the right choice for you. So if you have any more questions, any more doubts, any more queries, then please let us know in the comment section below. This was the Audi Q2. This is your host Tarun. See you in the next review.